Hey y'all. So firstly, before we get started, I want to apologize for my choice in background that I have for this room. I'm currently moved back into my mom's while I'm in search of a job, and so I found the only room that had decent natural lighting and privacy. So I'm pretty much in my mom's junk room with all the Christmas presents. Yay! Secondly, be sure to go check out my blog where you'll be able to see a broader view on the topic of this video. I'll leave a link in the description below. This year, 2016, was a big year for metal fans with a whole bunch of releases. My personal taste in metal varies greatly across the board of subgenres, so it was kind of difficult for me to pick a list of favorite albums this year. However, I did manage to narrow down to my top 5. Number 5 is going to go to Sabaton's The Last Stand. Sabaton is known to knock people off their feet, so I was bracing myself for this album and I was not disappointed. I still got the wind knocked out of me with all the rawness and the power and the awesomeness that was this album. A song that stuck out to me was Sparta because it was very raw and it definitely made you want to go out and pillage villages like I think most Sabaton songs like us to do. My favorite song off the album was The Lost Battalion. To me, this song captures what Sabaton represents. Powerful, gritty, and absolutely epic. To me, Sabaton doesn't really experiment a whole lot with their sound. They kind of keep it basic with a sound that only belongs to them though. Yet each album is unique and it's fresh and it's new. You know each subject is going to be about war or battle, but you just don't know which one. And the thing about Sabaton is their storytelling skills with their music, and I thought The Last Stand was probably one of their best albums. Number 4 was Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. The first song I heard off the album was Hardwired, and it was on a rock station. I was cruising down the interstate and I thought, damn, this is a fantastic cruising song. My favorite song off the album is definitely Moth Into the Flame. It's fast, it's catchy, and I cannot get enough of Hemmett's guitar riff. So I'm taking their age into consideration with the overall thoughts of this album. Hetfield has lost some of the rawness to his voice that he used to have, and even though the album is pretty tightly produced, it seems like some of the rage has left the building. Whether it'll return or not, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Of course, this album doesn't hold a candle to And Justice for All or Master of Puppets or any of those, but I still feel like it's one of the better albums they've released in the last several years. Number 3 goes to Megadeth's Dystopia. Now, I'm the first one to admit that I am actually more of a Metallica fan than a Megadeth fan, but when it came to the two albums together, Megadeth's was just better for my ears in my opinion. Yeah, Metallica had a lot more catchy songs, but Megadeth overall, the album quality-wise, just sounded better to me. I feel like I'm gonna be judged if I say what my favorite song is, but it is Conquer or Die. No, there's no lyrics to the song, but the acoustic beginning and the eventual build-up is just really awesome, and I love the guitar work by their newest guitarist. Hetfield may have lost some of his rage, but I think Mustaine still carries it on quite well. It's a good album, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it really passes my personal favorites such as Countdown to Extinction. But I must say I really loved the technical work on this album. Number 2 for me this year goes to Maximalism by Amaranth. When I first heard their song, That Song, which was their first single, I was gravely disappointed. I've been a fan of Amaranth for pretty much since their entire career, and I had no idea what they were getting into when they released that song. But I wasn't one of the haters. I tried to keep an open mind and just waited for the rest of the album's release, and I have to say I was not disappointed. It gave me a mini adrenaline rush, and it was like I enjoyed every single track that I listened to. All the songs on this album are catchy and headbanging worthy, so this was kind of a difficult decision for me to make, but my favorite song on the album is their second single, which was Fury. I love that Wilhelmsen, who is their harsh vocalist, is the main focus of the song, which doesn't happen very often, especially anymore since they've relied a lot on Elise. It doesn't happen very often on this album anyway, and so that's probably my prime reason for loving it. Amaranth's always been a class act of combining their techno, pop style with heavier influences, and that's also why they get a bunch of shit. People often say they lack emotion, but if you listen to their song Endlessly, that in itself had a lot of emotion and kind of gave me the major feels. I always am gonna say that they could give Elise Ride maybe a little less attention and focus more on Jake Lundberg, who also has an incredible voice. but I know Elise is their beautiful front woman and they've got to market her as best they can. And the harsh vocals have always been sort of a backing in this band, but I felt like they really took advantage of Wilkinson's talents in this album, and I was quite pleased with that. Before we get to the #1 spot, here are some honorable mentions. Volbeat's Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie, Avatar's Feathers and Flesh, and Baby Metal's Metal Resistance is also an honorable mention, and you can hate me if you want. So my #1 album should have been pretty obvious if you guys have been paying attention. #1 goes to Epica's The Holographic Principle. The reason why this album is my favorite is because when I first heard it, I was thinking, holy crow, mind equals blown. While I was listening to the first time through, I was lost completely in the music. For my favorite song, Once Upon a Nightmare wins this round. Beyond the Matrix comes on before it on album order, but it lacked something that Once Upon a Nightmare just had for me. Once Upon a Nightmare could be considered a ballad, but it's so beautiful with Simone and the choir and the orchestra. It's just a majestic AF song. It has an ethereal sound and it's just an emotional trip, and it just transported me to an entirely different world. So that's why it's my favorite. This album is by far one of their best. A lot of people thought that it would probably replace the Quantum Enigma on their best one. I will have to disagree, but it is a very, very close second. It has a sort of futuristic arrangement that also remains very clear and concise, and Simone Simon's vocals really added to the music, I thought. A lot of people thought her vocals were too high this album. I thought it all went together really well. I had a deep appreciation for every track. I loved every one of them for individual reasons, and I found very little wrong with this album. So guys, that's all I have for my top 5 favorite albums. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to give this video a like. Comment down below on what your 5, 10, 20 favorite metal albums were this year, and be sure to subscribe. We'll see y'all next time. Bye!
Damn, son, isn't that enough?